Imagine an impossibly tranquil lake, hidden underwater. Here, the crushing pressure and near-freezing temperatures usually dictate a barren, unbroken landscape of deep, abyssal mud. Suddenly, a pristine shoreline appears. ROV lights illuminate a rippling surface. We are looking at a distinct, undulating surface, complete with what appears to be sandy banks and gentle, rolling waves. It defies logic, presenting an underwater oasis that mimics a terrestrial lake sitting at the very bottom of the world. It is a pool of liquid so dense, so fundamentally alien, that it completely refuses to mix with the surrounding water. This is not a mere optical illusion. It is a profound geological anomaly that creates a completely separate. It looks like pure magic. What you are witnessing is a deep-sea brine pool, a hyper-saline lake trapped deep within the ocean itself. A slow, sweeping pan across this toxic shoreline reveals a world untouched by the sun. Now, let's dive into the data and uncover the reality hidden in the deep. This pristine lake is a geological illusion. As we maneuver our instruments closer to the rippling boundary, we are not looking at a separate body of water, but a highly concentrated accumulation of ancient history. Millions of years ago, vast inland seas slowly evaporated, leaving behind massive, incredibly thick layers of salt that were eventually buried beneath the modern ocean floor. Over deep time, tectonic shifting and the immense pressure of the Earth eventually cracked these subterranean vaults open. This heavy, hypersaline fluid then bubbles back up, pooling into the natural depressions of the seafloor to form what we call a brine pool, naturally. Because it is up to 5 times saltier than normal seawater, it simply cannot mix. It settles into a distinct ROV glides along the halocline, showing the viscous separation. When we analyze the physical structure of this boundary, we see that it acts exactly like a dense, impenetrable membrane. The sheer density difference is so profound that our submersibles can actually bounce off the surface of these underwater lakes, or float effortlessly upon them, much like a boat on a conventional terrestrial lake. It is a stunning display of fluid dynamics, where 2 bodies of water exist in the exact same space, yet remain entirely isolated from one another. The visual effect of waves crashing on the underwater shoreline is simply the dense brine reacting. But the beauty here is highly deceptive. It effectively locks in a potent, primordial chemistry. Beneath that shimmering halocline, the water is entirely devoid of oxygen, creating a hostile environment. Camera tilts down into the murky, impenetrable depths of the pool, revealing a stark, suspended environment. To truly map these hyper-saline boundaries, our team utilizes advanced sonar and specialist chemical sensors, carefully penetrating the surface without disturbing the delicate balance. We find that these pools are not just static puddles. They are highly dynamic, shifting environments. Sometimes they even overflow their banks, creating slow-moving, underwater brine waterfalls that carve deep. The discovery of these environments forces us to rethink the very nature of oceanography and the extremes of our planet. We are looking at a biome that operates under completely different physical and chemical rules than the rest of the planet's oceans, sitting silently in the eternal dark. The water here is a deadly cocktail. To understand this environment, we must analyze the exact chemical composition of the deep pool. We are looking at a fluid completely devoid of the dissolved oxygen necessary for marine survival. Instead, the brine is heavily saturated with massive concentrations of dissolved methane and hydrogen sulfide. But this is not just salty water. It is a highly caustic, anoxic compound welling up from the Earth's crust. The brine pool effectively acts as a dense, liquid trap, capturing and concentrating these volatile tectonic visualization of underwater methane bubbles slowly rising from a dense, dark brine surface, eerie atmospheric lighting. Where do these toxic chemicals originate? This slow degradation process releases raw methane gas and highly reactive sulfide compounds into the sediment. Every single drop of this hyper-saline fluid holds a meticulously balanced ratio of salt, sulfide, and methane, locked under immense pressure. When we deploy specialized mass spectrometers into the lake, the readings are immediately off the charts. The salinity levels here are frequently 4 to 5 times higher than the surrounding abyssal ocean. At this extreme concentration, the salt actively draws water out of living cells through violent osmotic pressure. We are not witnessing active predation. We are observing a passive, purely chemical barrier that floors. Hydrogen sulfide is the true hazard. While the salt dehydrates, the dissolved hydrogen sulfide gas directly attacks the cellular respiratory system. It binds perfectly to the enzymes responsible for processing oxygen, shutting down biological energy production entirely.
We must look closer at the gas. The methane trapped within the brine is not a uniform mixture.
In some specific locations, the concentration of methane becomes so dense that it forms unique physical structures. The immense pressure and freezing temperatures compress the gas and water molecules together into an icy matrix. This creates methane hydrates, solid crystalline structures that line the edges and bottom of the underwater lake. Close-up footage of white, icy methane hydrate crystals forming along the rocky outer edges of a dark, underwater brine pool. The concentration of these dissolved gases frequently reaches a critical threshold. When this saturation point is crossed, the brine can no longer hold the chemical cocktail in solution. We observe sudden, violent eruptions of pure methane bubbles tearing through the dense Halocline barrier layer. These underwater eruptions release potent greenhouse gases into the water column, showcasing the active geological heartbeat of the abyss. What prevents a total ocean poisoning? The sheer density of the brine is the only thing keeping these massive toxic reserves safely contained. If the halocline were to be disrupted, the sudden release of sulfides would devastate the local marine ecosystem. The heavy liquid clings to the depression, bound by the unyielding laws of gravity and fluid dynamics. Answer. The brine pool is a perfectly balanced chemical paradox, maintaining a localized zone of absolute lethality with wide cinematic shot of a massive underwater brine pool, emphasizing its isolation and stillness amidst the vast, dark ocean floor. These lakes are true cold seeps. Unlike the superheated, boiling water of hydrothermal vents, the fluid in these brine pools is roughly ambient ocean temperature. The slow, steady nature of a cold seep creates a highly stable, long-lasting environment compared to volatile thermal vents. This immense stability allows for the slow accumulation of the heavy salt. The brine pool is a testament to geological patience, taking millennia to build a concentrated reservoir of toxic energy in the dark. We are analyzing an alien fluid. When we extract a sample of this brine and bring it to our surface laboratories, it behaves strangely. As the deep-sea pressure decreases during the ascent, the dissolved gases violently expand and escape the liquid. The fluid actually begins to boil at room temperature, releasing the pungent, unmistakable odor of raw sulfur. It requires specially pressurized titanium containment cylinders just to transport this volatile liquid to the surface. High-tech 3D animation showing a titanium sampling cylinder closing around a sample of dense brine fluid, securing it for the journey to the surface. The lethality of the brine pool is not a flaw in the ecosystem. It is a highly specific evolutionary filter. By creating a zone where standard marine life absolutely cannot exist, it leaves a massive biological vacuum behind. The toxic chemicals themselves, specifically the methane and the sulfides, become a massive, untapped energy resource. The very chemicals that trigger rapid osmotic shock and cellular asphyxiation are about to become the foundation of an impossible ecosystem. The poison is actually the fuel. The lethal nature of the pool only applies to organisms that rely on oxygen and standard cellular respiration. But the deep ocean operates on a completely different set of biological rules when pushed to the extreme edge, where we see a deadly, suffocating lake of poison. The most resilient organisms on Earth see an unlimited, highly concentrated source of potential energy. We are standing on the precipice of a biological revolution, where the most toxic environment imaginable is active. This shoreline is not a graveyard. As we move the cameras directly along the Halocline boundary, the barren landscape suddenly erupts with astonishing biological density. We are looking at thousands of specialized mussels, tightly packed into dense reefs. This exact placement is not accidental. It is a masterclass in extreme ecological positioning. High-fidelity macro footage of deep-sea mussels clustered precisely along the rocky shoreline of an underwater lake. How do they feed without sunlight? In the sunlit world above, the entire food web is driven by photosynthesis, requiring solar energy to build organic matter. But in the pitch-black depths, these organisms utilize a revolutionary biological process known as chemosynthesis to generate their own sustenance. They rely on a profound symbiotic relationship with specialized bacteria that live permanently within the tissues of their gills. These microscopic partners possess the unique biochemical machinery required to metabolize the very toxins that kill standard marine life. Converting these deadly gases into pure cellular energy. In a flawless exchange, the mussels provide a safe harbor, while the bacteria provide an endless supply of metabolic fuel. A clean, intelligent electronic pulse syncs with a high-tech 3D animation showing the chemosynthetic process within a mussel gill. By positioning themselves on the very rim of the underwater lake, the mussels can dip their siphons into the toxic brine. They sip the concentrated gases, effectively filtering the raw chemical energy before the heavy fluid can fatally dehydrate their tissues. Transforming an otherwise barren patch of seafloor into an oasis of deep-sea life. We observe specialized eels, squat lobsters, and scavenging crabs patrolling the reef, feeding on the bounty supported entirely by toxic gas. Sweeping ROV shot showing the vast ring of light encircling the dead center of the brine pool, emphasizing the stark contrast. Biology conquers the impossible. We also find massive thickets of specialized tubeworms, their red plumes extended to capture the dissolved sulfides in the water column. Like the mussels, these worms completely lack a digestive system, relying entirely on their internal bacterial colonies for survival. Their presence indicates a highly mature, stable ecosystem. By studying the growth rings on the mussel shells and the length of the tubeworms, researchers from NOOA can track the pool's history.
These extremophiles act as living records of deep-sea geological activity. Record what initially appeared as a monstrous, uninhabitable environment is actually a thriving biological engine, fueled by the darkest corners of geology. Atmospheric transition, highlighting the vibrant colors of the extremophiles
Against the dark, murky background of the dense brine, this ecosystem reshapes our perspective. For centuries, human understanding of biology was strictly limited to the terrestrial rules of oxygen, sunlight, and photosynthesis.
It proves that life is not just a fragile passenger on this planet.
The brine pool teaches us that extreme chemistry and crushing pressure are not absolute barriers. They are merely different evolutionary parameters. This lake is a mirror. As we finally ascend from the crushing depths, we carry a profound scientific realization. The extremophile communities thriving on these unique shores are not merely a bizarre biological quirk. They serve as a functioning, real-world template for the most extreme environments imaginable. Atmospheric transition to the dark subsurface ocean of Jupiter's moon Europa. These unique underwater lakes represent the absolute closest analog we possess to the frozen the exact same chemical gradients that sustain our deep-sea mussels could power alien ecosystems. Geological venting and tidal heating could provide the necessary energy for life to take hold. Yet, for every single answer we uncover here, a dozen new mysteries rapidly emerge. How do these delicate symbiotic relationships first form across the vast, empty expanses of the seafloor? Slow, lingering shot of the desolate brine pool surface fading into the dark. The study of these isolated environments is a continuous, evolving dialogue with the natural world. It forces us to question our assumptions and expand the very definition of a habitable zone. As researchers carefully sequence the DNA of these survivors, we invite your own scientific hypotheses. Share your detailed thoughts on this profound geological anomaly in the comments section below. Join the conversation as we continue to document the uncharted territories of our blue planet. The abyss is waiting.